One of the key principles that Aurelius often writes about is how to react when someone does evil against you, in which he replies with, "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." This quote complements the Stoic idea of being able to hold your emotions in check. What Aurelius means when he says to reject your sense of injury is to be able to shield yourself from being hurt from other people's words or actions. So when someone insults you, you can choose to see that the insult does nothing to harm you if you decide that it doesn't. So if someone were to make fun of your shirt, you can easily brush it off and not be frustrated by their insult. But what if you do feel that anger? This takes us onto the topic of revenge. Most of us, if not all of us, have taken revenge on someone at some point in our lives. Me definitely included. But would the Stoics agree with their actions? To quote Aurelius, the best revenge is to be unlike he who caused the injury. This important message tells us that the action of taking revenge is actually a success on whoever first harmed you. Let's say someone were to release an embarrassing picture of you. If you take revenge, not only were you hurt in the physical by the picture, but your mind and virtuous spirit are now colored as well from your thoughts, desires, and actions of taking vengeance. It just goes to show that revenge actually hurts you, as well as other people. In short, it doesn't do anyone good from an objective point of view. But what do I mean by an objective point of view? What I mean is that you have to be able to look at your situation in the third person. And this doesn't just concern revenge, this reaches to almost everything in your life. You have to be able to zoom out and look at your entire life objectively, to see how small your problems are when compared to the massive size of this planet. To see that most of your daily problems are nothing compared to what some people have faced in the world. So don't seek revenge, instead remain calm and forget about past grudges. This leads me on to the next point, which is to not automatically judge other people. One of the things that you might see in Aurelius' meditations is his harsh criticism of his peers. And while this might have helped him in his situation, it is not always beneficial. Criticism can be helpful if you know how to give value to others, but if you're blatantly looking down upon others, you might develop an unfair sense of superiority. Personally, I've seen this in my own life as well. I did reach a point where I felt vastly superior to most people, but don't fall into this trap. Realize that you would probably act the same way as them if you were put in their situation. A good, age-old exercise for this kind of thing is putting yourself in another person's shoes. You've most definitely heard of this before, but I want you to really put it into practice. The next time someone reacts in a toxic or hostile way, think about what they might have gone through and why they might have acted in that way. Actually, I remember watching a YouTube video of a policeman explaining how his job can be very frustrating at times. He talked about situations where he had to deal with the shooting of a family, and then 30 minutes later, he had to argue when giving a ticket to someone with an attitude. It just goes to show that you don't always know what someone has been through. That police officer might have seen some pretty horrific things just before talking to you. The best thing to do is to try to understand their situation and to not react in anger against them. Now, I want to give you a bit of a mini disclaimer here because when I mean emotional restraint, I don't mean to turn off all of your emotions. I don't mean for you to become a stone-cold monolith of a person. People oftentimes go too far in emotional restraint. You might even know someone like this, who almost never shows his emotion. Now this is where it becomes bad. When I say emotional control, I mean for you to be able to control your emotions in certain situations, so that your emotions don't control your actions. You want to have this ability to keep yourself in check, but don't